Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Page 10. My name is Abbas. We are recording on the 3rd of March 2023. Uh, Page 10 is our current affairs show on the All About Now feed and YouTube channel on the IVM podcast network. With me, I have one regular panelist who's with us every episode, and we have a guest panelist with us today. So, joining us from Delhi is our regular panelist who's been with us from day one. Hi, Meghnad.
Hello, Abbas.
Hello. And we have a guest with us today who's joining us from Mumbai. Am I correct, Gaurav?
Yes, that's it.
All right. So we have Gaurav Laghate, who writes for the Mint, the newspaper Mint. He's the head of Consumer Bureau and he writes about sports, entertainment, and lots of other topics. Welcome, Gaurav.
Hi, thank you. Glad to be here.
Great to be here. All right. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, please, before we begin, like the video, subscribe to the channel, to the All About Now channel. Page 10 is not just the only show you get here. You get two other shows along with it. You get ELI 10, hosted by Meghnad. And also, we've just now premiered the first episode of the second season of How to Citizen. And by the time you see this, the second episode would also be out. How to Citizen is also hosted by Meghnad and Shreyas. Meghnad, you want to tell us what's on the second episode and who's the guest?
So after the first episode, which was this Omar Abdullah, we were trying to figure out, यार इतना बड़ा guest लेकर आए हैं, अब second episode के लिए क्या करेंगे? Like,
Right.
who will beat this? नरेंद्र
Yes.
मोदी जी को लेके आते हैं, but of course he won't come on our podcast. So
Right.
we thought कि let's go random, and we got Anup Soni of the Crime Patrol and the CID fame, also the
Yeah.
Balika Vadhu fame, and we
Yes.
gave him a chapter on health. Which
Hmm.
was the most fascinating thing we have done, which is so random, but turned out very well because he came with a lot of stories and experiences, and he was he diligently read the chapter. He knew the lines. It
Right.
was very
Nice.
nice. I'm very impressed. But please watch that fun episode coming.
Yep. So you can watch that on YouTube. And in case you're listening to us on an audio platform, do rate and review us on whatever platform you're listening to. And if it allows you to rate us and review us, I know Apple Podcasts and Spotify do. So if you're listening to us on either of those platforms, please rate us highly. All right, with that out of the way, let's get to this week's episode. Let's start with Meghnad. Meghnad, you have a topic that's been dominating the headlines for the last couple of days. Please tell us what you have for us this week.
Right. So my story is about Manish Sisodia, who was arrested uh,
Hmm.
and sent to a 5 day custody by the CBI. He was arrested on Sunday, which is the 26th of February,
Hmm.
which is 5 days from now. So today is
Yep.
the fifth day. So
Right.
apparently some movement might happen, and most likely his custody will be extended. Now,
Hmm.
this is the second minister from the Aam Aadmi Party Delhi government which has been arrested and detained, who has been arrested and detained. First was Satyendra Jain, who
Hmm.
got arrested in May last year. He's been in jail for 9 months. And if you remember, like right before the MCD elections, there were these weird videos coming of Satyendra Jain chilling in jail and
In jail,
getting
yes.
foot massages and eating dry fruits. So that is one. The
Yeah.
second is now Manish Sisodia is also in custody.
Hmm.
Uh, the reason why he's in custody is because of two reasons. But okay, so we are going to divide the story into two parts. One is, of course, the political part of it, which I'll come to later, but
Hmm.
also the why was he arrested part of it, right?
Right.
Um, okay, so the two cases, quote unquote, which he's detained under for investigation by the CPI. First is the liquor policy excise, quote unquote, scam.
Hmm.
Right? It is basically a scam, not scam, still don't know. Then there is the snooping case. There is a snooping case on Mr. Manish Sisodia,
Mrs. Hodia.
which I will also tell you about. Okay,
Hmm.
so first things first. Uh, so the Delhi liquor excise policy was implemented by the Delhi government back in 2021. This was right after the pandemic lockdowns had ended, and
Right.
suddenly the Delhi government is like, listen, we are changing the entire policy. And for a glorious few months, Delhi had the most golden liquor months of its existence, where there were like these very fancy new shops that started coming up. All those Sadawa government shops which don't even give you a bag to take your
Right.
alcohol are gone. And
Yeah.
now there are these fancy AC shops with like a ton of alcohol varieties, etc. And they
Hmm.
had ridiculous discounts. And
Hmm.
they had like one pay एक पे एक free beer के लिए crate लेके जाओ तो एक और crate दे देंगे type like discount deals. Then there were like a variety of new alcohols that were just experimental alcohol companies that came in, and they started selling their products in this, right? Now that happened because of the change in excise policy. Now what the Aam Aadmi Party government essentially did, and that was the logic behind this, that government shouldn't be in the liquor business. That was the
Mhm.
basic point of that policy, that
Okay.
एक तो बहुत करप्शन होता है. The government agencies involved in the excise liquor department get an opportunity to be extremely corrupt. So why don't we just get out of the business and make it into a licensing regime where private players can just come
Mhm.
in and build up their own liquor businesses.
Mm,
The second
mm,
thing they did was that they removed the MRP restrictions on the liquor price. So they actually
okay.
allowed businessmen who are dealing in liquor to offer discounts,
Okay.
unlimited discounts, right? So
Hmm.
इसीलिए वो 1+1 फ्री टाइप होने लगा था,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And the other thing that they did was they basically lowered the minimum age of consumption of liquor from 25 to 21.
Hmm.
And they said that home delivery of liquor will also happen. That is
Okay.
something that was generally largely the policy, right? Another thing is that they basically did this to increase their own tax collection.
Mhm.
So the logic there is कि state government को पैसा लेना है, तो फिर there
Mhm.
are two very big ways that the government can get money, and one of them is alcohol. So
Okay.
alcohol pay state government puts in taxes, and a large chunk of money comes from those taxes, right? So their whole thing was that if we make alcohol more freely available,
Mhm.
easily consumable, and more popular, then
Mhm.
our taxes will also go up, right?
Correct.
Which
Hmm.
actually did happen. They like in the few months that it was active, some 2000 crore का profit हुआ उनको, मतलब profit in the sense income हुआ government को. Now, so that is what the policy was. Now, what the CBI did essentially is that there are allegations against Manish Sisodia, particularly, who was the brains behind this policy, that he did it to benefit big players,
Mhm.
big monopolies of liquor barons, etc. The second is there were kickbacks that happened,
Hmm.
where some licenses were given out to people and Manish Sisodia got kickbacks. And the third allegation is that this whole policy thing was done to pour money into the Punjab elections, which were
Ah.
happening right
Okay.
after that.
Hmm.
And basically, Aam Aadmi Party wanted to do a big campaign, so therefore, this was an excuse for the Aam Aadmi Party to earn money and then pour it
Hmm.
into that election. Now,
Hmm.
so that's the whole allegation part of it. Now there were raids happened on Manish Sisodia last year. A few months ago, again there was a raid, and he was called in for questioning. तब उसको कुछ नहीं हुआ. But then later he announced that, oh, these guys are definitely going to arrest me at some point.
Hmm.
So I'm just preparing you. And now that has happened. Last Sunday he was actually arrested for 5 days for now. But I genuinely feel the way Satyendra Jain's case went, they will just keep him and like
Okay.
keep
Hmm.
rolling it forward. The other thing that happened also is that Satyendra Jain and Manish Sisodia have both resigned on Tuesday as ministers, and their portfolios have gone to other people, existing
Okay.
ministers. Right? Now, the second case he is also accused under is this thing called snooping case. Okay, so now this is actually very interesting and funny because I mean I read about it last week only, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. So Delhi government has had established a feedback unit in
Okay.
2016. It was literally called the feedback unit in
Hmm.
2016, right? Which employed 17 contractual employees. Now, these contractual employees had interesting backgrounds. They all came from ex intelligence bureau backgrounds and also central paramilitary forces backgrounds, right?
Mhm.
Now,
Mhm.
this feedback unit, unka job tha, their mandate was to keep an eye on the functioning of various departments and provide actionable intelligence to the cabinet so that they
Mhm.
can function better, right? Now, the back then the LG Vinay Kumar Saxena, he approved the CBI's request to file a case against Sisodia, and what he alleged is that this is an excuse to actually snoop on people. So he said that the feedback unit is actually a
Mhm.
snooping unit
Okay. Hmm.
which is snooping on not just me, which is the LG, but
Hmm.
opponents and like other people,
Hmm.
right? Now the CBI, after an analysis, had given a statement. They said in a report and alleged that while 60% are related to vigilance matters handled by this feedback unit,
Mhm.
political intelligence and other other issues accounted for around 40%. Now,
Mhm.
that 40% is what they had a problem with.
Mhm.
They said that this unit is dealing with political activities of persons, political entities, and political issues touching political interests of AAP, BJP, or like which is beyond the scope and ambit of the functionings of this unit. So, then essentially their whole thing is that this is a violation of the right to privacy, and it is a constitutional violation because a state government is trying to snoop on a central government now, and
Right.
that is not allowed,
Mm.
etc, etc. So that is the thing. Okay, I'm going to pause
Hmm.
here because questions first, then we'll go to the political stuff.
Yeah, I have a question, and Gaurav, then we can come to you. Firstly, you said that Manish Sisodia, apparently one of the allegations is he got some kickbacks. Can you just tell us in a nutshell what a kickback is?
So, okay, so basically, the way licensing of alcohol works is that
Hmm.
Delhi has been divided into multiple sectors, right? And
Okay.
each
Hmm.
sector will have a license that is active, and the
Hmm.
licenses are very expensive. It's like some crore mein jata hai license,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So, if you're a player who wants to do a business in alcohol, you have to buy a license from the government, right?
Right.
Um, earlier, both the government and the private players were running these businesses, right? So it
Hmm.
was like a combination. So you can
Hmm.
have like a private shop, but it would have like government interference also. So it was like a very semi, like government plus private
Private
model.
players. Yeah.
What the
Yeah.
government did is it completely extracted itself from the thing. So
Hmm.
earlier also licenses were given, but it
Hmm.
was also based on, oh, तुम government के साथ काम करते कर सकते हो
Hmm.
या नहीं कर
Hmm.
सकते
Hmm.
types. तो
Hmm.
corruption का तब तो बहुत ही ज्यादा ये था. Now
Hmm.
what the allegation is now is that even now the licenses that have been given out, the kickbacks that you got, so to get that license which is for this one particular sector,
Right.
right, so the allegation is that there were some 7 people who essentially got those kickbacks from private players who wanted these licenses so that they can lobby with the app government and get
Hmm.
them those licenses. So there
Okay.
were middlemen, right? And one of them was a familiar name, the owner of OML, CEO of OML, Vijay Nair,
Oh
ex-CEO.
yes.
Yeah.
I
So
remember
he
this.
was
He also got.
also
Yes.
named
Yes.
in the
Yes.
charge sheet, and there were a few other people.
Correct.
So yeah, that is the essential allegation that ब्राइब करके लाइसेंसेस मिले हैं और वो ब्राइब्स
Hmm.
जो है वो मनीष सिसोदिया को गए हैं एंड आम
Okay.
आदमी पार्टी टू
Got
फंड
it.
द पंजाब इलेक्शंस सो या
Got it. Considering Manish Sisodia is like the number two person in the Aam Aadmi Party, what has been the party's response, and has Kejriwal made any statements regarding this?
So the political part of it,
Hmm.
essentially, um a big blow to Aam Aadmi Party,
Hmm.
like without question, a big blow to Aam Aadmi Party. Manish Sisodia, for all effective reasons, was the chief minister of Delhi.
Hmm.
I mean, you have to understand this, right? He had 18 portfolios under him,
Right.
alone. He
Right.
was handling everything from education to excise to whatever, right? Like
Hmm. Hmm.
everything. He was the number two man on paper, but actually
Hmm.
he was the number one man in Delhi.
Hmm. Hmm.
Kejriwal was thinking of national expansion. So he's
Correct.
more of a political boss with the chief minister title, but
Hmm.
actual administration of Delhi was
Hmm.
completely being handled by the Manish Sisodia's office.
Hmm.
Now, Manish Sisodia, from what I know, like, I have worked with the Delhi government a little bit, right? He has all these special units in each department where he gets like a lot of consultants and young people to essentially do like policy making, etc. And then he does like special projects and implements them. One big focus was, of course, education.
Hmm.
Um, Now, Manish Sisodia, for like, and I'm not kidding when I say this, he completely transformed education in India single-handedly, right? And
Hmm.
nobody will deny this. Like even
Hmm.
BJP will say that, oh yeah, this guy, he did something, right?
Hmm.
Um, Parents in Delhi are ultra happy with the school education that their kids are getting. There are literally now people trying to get their kids into government schools more than private schools, and that's, I
Right.
think, a big achievement there
Hmm,
in
hmm,
the
hmm.
capital especially. Um so so both ways, I think it's a big blow to Aam Aadmi Party because he's the poster child
Right.
who is now basically inactive.
Right.
And I feel like he was a big confidant to Arvind Kejriwal also in all
Hmm,
and every matters.
hmm, hmm.
So he's basically was a, I mean, they're like best friends.
Right.
So
Yeah.
your best friend is now in jail. Who are you going to talk to?
Yeah.
That's a big problem. So
Yeah.
basically, he's like what Amit Shah is to Narendra Modi. Uh,
Yes.
yeah,
Gaurav, you want to come in? I mean, this is not sports related technically, but
Yeah.
what do you have to say
No, no,
about the
see,
political machinations?
I mean, what I've seen and what I've heard, and I will agree with that he has transformed the Delhi education system, and a lot
Hmm.
of people also say that even the healthcare system
hmm,
has improved a lot. So I
Right.
think our government has done a lot in this city, in the state, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And of course, it was against all the issues, against all the impediments set up by the central. So I think they have been working with one hand tied behind their back. Now
Hmm.
I don't know if the allegations are true or false, and that I think the judicial system will see over the time. But I mean, I only feel that it's unfortunate, and it is a big blow, as you
Hmm.
said, for the
yeah.
party.
And
Right.
you know the party response part, which you said, Abbas.
Hmm.
So I have a
Yeah.
little bit of a problem with how they've been responding. I mean, not a problem, but just an observation, I would say.
Hmm.
So now Manish Sisodia went to jail.
Hmm.
Aam Aadmi Party obviously comes out and cries that, like, oh,
Yeah.
that you're trying to stop us from
Frame. Yeah.
doing our work, and
Hmm.
this is political vendetta against us.
Hmm. Hmm.
Of course, they attacked the CBI, ED,
Hmm.
and income tax departments for acting, in a partisan way,
Yeah.
which is obvious now. I mean,
Hmm. Hmm.
nobody would actually disagree with that. They're just doing it as if it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
The other thing, which they also say, is that this is a distraction from the Adani quote unquote scam,
Hmm. Hmm.
which basically was dominating the headlines for the last 2 weeks. Now,
Hmm.
if you saw the last week's coverage,
Yeah.
Adani has somewhat disappeared, even though the same alley इसमें और भी updates है, वो बाद में करेंगे. But
Sure.
like the Adani saga has many
Yeah.
more things happening. If
Right.
if our media was actually focusing on this, every other day there is a new story that is breaking on this, right? If you remember the 2G scam days, or the
Yeah. Yeah.
coal scam days, or whatever, I think breathlessly for weeks, or
Yeah.
actually months, news
Hmm.
media was going after one angle, then the other angle, then
Hmm.
the other angle, then the other angle.
Correct. Yeah.
This is, if not more, similar.
Hmm.
Okay, so like, journalistically speaking, so many updates are coming from this story, the Adani saga, that it is enough to keep people busy for a while, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
journalists.
Yeah.
Now, what has happened last week is that, of course, this has happened. So, Aam Aadmi
Hmm.
Party is obviously saying कि ओ तुम्हारा फंडर अभी ट्रबल में आ गया, तो हमारे
हाँ.
पीछे पड़ गए, सब
हाँ.
मीडिया वाले उस पे पड़ गए.
हाँ.
So the problem, my problem here is that in this whole thing, you're not explaining the benefits of the policy, because
Hmm.
that policy was actually good. I mean, it is for a literally a progressive nation, and a party which also claims to be progressive, and which is BJP.
Right.
They should be the ones coming up with these policies, to be honest, not Aam Aadmi Party. What they're doing is they're reducing the involvement of government in something like alcohol, right?
Mhm.
Of course, there are a lot of social issues in it, which is, अगर
Yeah.
तुम alcohol और easily available करोगे, तो फिर वो जो है कि women will oppose it, which is the Bihar thing,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
reason
Yeah.
why they
Yeah.
banned
Yeah.
banned
Yeah.
alcohol.
I was actually about to ask that. I mean, within India, different states have such different outlooks to something like
Yeah,
alcohol. Gujarat is a dry state. You mentioned Bihar. So there is that whole क्या कहना चाहिए, like if you want to be seen as Mr. Clean or a clean person, then you disassociate from something like alcohol because
yeah,
it's not
yeah.
seen as something that's in the purview of Indian middle class as dirty.
The policy, again, the alcohol policy is fascinating in India because
Hmm.
excise policy. So there is these states, Gujarat and Bihar type, which have banned alcohol, right?
Right.
In
Yeah.
Shillong, sorry, in Meghalaya, you're allowed to have alcohol only in certain areas. Otherwise,
Okay.
it's banned, right?
Okay.
Then in Punjab and in Delhi, there is this massive the other way where alcohol we are just making it free. Government will
Okay.
not be
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Discounts दो, available करो, plastic bag में बेचो.
Hmm.
Like literally, that is where the policy is in Punjab
Hmm.
right now,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
In Maharashtra,
Hmm.
fascinatingly, the MVA government, the Vikas Aghadi government,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
realized something very fascinating, which I think a lot of people should realize. A lot of wine comes from Maharashtra,
Hmm.
Nashik and all the areas,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think some 70% of all wine produced in India goes from there.
Hmm.
And 85% of supply, including imports, comes
Hmm.
from Maharashtra to the rest of the country, right?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
what they did was they made wine available in grocery stores.
Hmm. Yeah.
They had this policy, remember,
Correct.
where
Yes. Yes.
grocery
Yes. Yes.
stores में 5,000 रुपए दो आप एक license fee, and you
Hmm.
can make
Hmm.
a locked cabinet inside your grocery stores, and you can
Yeah.
have wine there.
Yeah.
Now, that's a good thing, I would say, right? Plus, they wanted to do home delivery also of
Hmm.
wine specifically.
Hmm.
Because it's a big product in Maharashtra, and they
Hmm.
wanted people who are coming to Maharashtra to grocery stores, etc., to basically take the wine elsewhere.
Right.
It's big opportunity.
Uh,
Now that also got cancelled, right?
hmm.
So basically, what is happening is that just to oppose it politically, because some other party has done it, which is
Hmm.
actually a great idea.
Hmm.
I feel like the
Yeah.
BJP is feeling bad, and
Ah.
therefore they are trying to shut it down, which is so unfair, because I love it. I loved those few months in Delhi. I still fondly remember them. So like very sad.
Uh, for the first time in Delhi, liquor became cheaper than Gurgaon. People were not
Yes,
going to Gurgaon, right?
yes.
And
You
good
know,
quality and
Hmm.
absolutely,
different, as you said, experimental liquor. So very new varieties also.
absolutely.
Problem is, and I also talk to a lot of liquor companies as part of my beat. So everyone says that, for any state government, almost 30-35% of their tax revenue is coming from
Hmm.
liquor. So it's a
Yes, yes,
counterproductive thing to ban it, right?
Right.
And when we see bans, what happens is from Bihar, a lot of people die due to this country liquor or hooch,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Recently, a lot of people
Hmm.
died. And also, there are some trains which go from Bihar to other state in the morning. A lot of people go there just to go outside the state limits, drink, and come back by
Hmm.
evening.
Hmm.
mm,
Hmm.
mm,
So it's not that they're not consuming. People will always
mm,
find ways of consuming.
Hmm.
And prohibition, I mean, look at the history. Prohibition has
Yeah.
never worked.
Hmm.
never worked.
So,
It's always been counterproductive, and that's the thing. In Punjab also, so they were giving hooch even in Bihar in those plastic bags, right? And what happened is, not only is this non-regulated, very dangerous, कि तुम ऐसे secretly कहीं तो भी एक गंदे से equipment use करके तुम alcohol बना रहे हो type.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
basically enforcement का भी problem आता था, which is the
Hmm.
police is involved in this now, which is,
Hmm.
oh हमको
Hmm.
ये bush shops ढूंढने, illegal stores ढूंढने, shut down करने, etc. So that's a waste of resource, right? So if you allow, so that's what Punjab did, right? They're like, अच्छा तुम plastic bag में वैसे ही बेच रहे हो, ठीक है, we'll allow it, but just do it properly. Like make sure that you're not doing it secretly. You're following norms. You're also paying taxes.
Right.
प्लास्टिक बैग पे भी टैक्स लगेगा फिर.
Hmm.
बेसिकली
Hmm.
दैट्स द होल पॉइंट कि हम लीगल कर रहे हैं.
regulated. Hmm.
Yeah, regulate कर रहे हैं उसको.
Hmm.
And the Punjab government, even the finance minister of Punjab has come out saying that they have some 2,000 crore in extra revenue, which has never happened in 17 years in Punjab, right? The point there is that तुम लोगों को नैनी नहीं कर सकते. The
Hmm.
more you nanny people about what they eat, what they drink, how they behave in society, the more people will want to rebel. And when
Right.
they rebel, and it's illegal, when the thing they're rebelling about is illegal, तो state का और पैसा खर्च होगा उस पे
Hmm.
enforce करने के लिए. So
Hmm.
instead, just make it legal, make it proper, regulate it, actually earn money from it,
Hmm.
and spend those taxes towards productive things like health and education, right?
Right.
That's the simple thing. But
Right.
Unfortunate. Yeah.
True, true,
um
true.
so as of now you're saying the BJP has the upper hand in the tussle that's been
I
happening
wouldn't say that
between the
though.
two.
What do
Okay.
you think? I'm actually on two ways
Wh-
about it. What do you
was
guys
it-
think?
So I think now the law will take its course, right?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
like earlier you said, even in the other case, like the BBC case, and you were talking about, right, a lot of these IT surveys. What percentage you were saying? 0.005,
Oh
which
yeah,
actually like
point
right.
point 5% conviction rate or something ridiculous. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So we'll see. I mean, how? I mean, anyway, I don't remember many politicians who got jailed for many
For a
serious
long
crimes.
time,
So
yes.
in
Correct.
a long time. So let's see.
Especially
Let's see
someone
how.
as important as Manish Sisodia.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, the interesting thing which I would like to point out is that they did this with Satyendra Jain also, right?
Right,
So we
right.
have a test case.
Yeah.
Um, so Satyendra Jain essentially was being harassed, etc. जो भी है उसको भी kickback मिला था, money laundering किया है, thousands of allegations against him. He's still in Tihar.
Hmm.
Ironically, he was the jail minister, and now he's in jail, which he was managing. Which
Wow.
is
Okay.
what, yeah. So and then before the MCD elections, they played this up कि अरे ये
Huh.
corrupt है, ये है, whatever. They leaked those videos, कहाँ से आया, कैसे आया,
Mm.
पता नहीं, but they did this. They tried to make political hay out of this. Didn't work though. Like, I mean,
Right.
MCD results,
Huh.
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is Aam Aadmi Party, the way it's expanding is very interesting for
Mm.
one very big reason. um if you talk to any person who is not elite in Delhi,
Mm.
English
Mm.
speaking, living in South Delhi, doing all these elite things, whatever. If you talk to anyone other than people like me, they will say that Aam Aadmi Party is the best thing that has happened to them in years,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
They will say that हमको सीवेज नहीं मिलता था, अभी उन्होंने
Mm.
सीवेज बना दिया है, मेरे मेरे गंदे से लोकेलिटी में जहाँ पे कुछ नहीं था वहां पे कुछ कुछ आने लगा है,
Mm.
मोहल्ला क्लिनिक आ गया है, मेडिसिन मिल रहे हैं, हमारे बच्चों को स्कूल में एजुकेशन अच्छा मिल रहा है,
Mm.
राइट?
Mm.
दैट इज
Mm.
बिकॉज उनको प्राइवेट स्कूल्स नहीं, they couldn't afford it, right?
Right,
Could
And
right.
now when the kids are coming back to them with like extreme excitement about going to school and like being, it obviously affects them, right? It's
Mm.
basically
Mm.
like, oh, यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है exactly? Like the education we didn't get, these
Mm.
kids are getting, and they're very happy that they're getting it for cheap or free
Right.
in
Yeah.
government schools.
Mm.
So the fact is that Aam Aadmi Party, by focusing on health and education, has done that very clever thing. That we are reaching the basic people who government should reach. Right? We don't care about like people like me, basically. Like मेरे
Right.
opinion से कोई घंटा फर्क पड़ने वाला है, basically.
Huh. Huh.
Right? The people whose opinion matters is these people. This is
Correct.
the exact thing that Uttar Pradesh government did in UP,
Right.
which is
Right.
focused on welfare for the
The
massive
poor. Mm.
poor, right? Which was affected by the pandemic, etc.,
Mm.
etc.
Mm. Mm.
That's why
Mm.
they won, and that is
Yeah.
exactly what Aam Aadmi Party is doing.
Mm.
So
Mm.
it's similar, right? And I think BJP sees it, and it's a threat for them.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Meghnad, for updating us on that. On that note, we'll take a short break. But before we go into a break, I have a couple of people fact checked me from last week's episode, so I have a few corrections that I need to do. So last week, when we were covering the Bajrang Dal lynching case, I erroneously said that Bhiwani and Manesar were in Rajasthan. They are not. I've been corrected by a couple of people on YouTube and even on the Cyrus Says Discord channel. So Bhiwani happens to be in district Haryana and Manesar happens to be in district Gurugram. So I stand
Hmm.
corrected. Thank you for the corrections. Meghnad, I believe you also have a correction to do.
Yes. So last week, when we were talking about the lobbying thing, Urvashi pointed out that $1 million were given to for lobbying in the US through that Democratic Party of India, and
Hmm.
I said that translates to 82 crore, but actually it's 8.2 crore.
Okay,
Yes,
got it.
I was
Okay.
90% above the limit.
Right.
Uh, and this is basically the people pointed out, and during the live chat also I was like, अरे ये मेघनाथ को कुछ आता नहीं है, क्या बात कर रहा है, सिंपल ट्रांसलेशन नहीं कर सकता,
वो
कन्वर्जन नहीं
मिलियन
आता.
और करोड़ में हो जाता है. इट्स ओके.
नहीं, but
Just 10%.
wrong. This Meghnad
Obviously.
shouldn't be a journalist or anything. ये क्या commentary, किसको बिठा के रखा है ये podcast में?
All right, so thanks for those corrections, guys. And on that note, we'll take a quick break. Once again, if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and if you're listening to us on audio, please rate and review us. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Hey, it's been a special week for the IVM Podcast Network as we turn 8 this year. Listeners, thank you for being with us on this wonderful journey. Presenting to you, Club Cyrus Says, the premium tier offerings for our podcast. Club members will get exclusive Cock and Bull episodes every Monday, extended and unfiltered versions of the guest episodes, access to the Club Cyrus Says Discord server, and audio offerings such as ad-free episodes and early access to guest episodes. Also, members get to decide the topics of live episodes and get their name on the producer's slate at the end credits. On The Wire Talks, Siddharth talks to former BBC journalist Satish Jacob about the latest income tax raid conducted at their BBC office in Delhi. On The Habit Coach, Ashton helps you get a perfect answer to the question, who do we work for? On Storytellers and Storysellers, Vineet hosts actors Madhyama and Chayan from Netflix's hit series Class. They spoke about how they prepared for their roles and working with Ashim Ahluwalia. And on Vartalab, Akash and Naveen talk to Anshu Patni, CEO Mythoverse Studio and podcaster. They speak about parenting, home culture, and Anshu and Akash's days working together. Once again, don't forget to visit our merch store on ivmpodcast.com. We have some exciting stuff for you over there. Follow us on social media via IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you like our shows, spread the word. Tell your friends and don't forget to rate and review us wherever you're listening to us. You'll also find all our shows on youtube.com/IVM Podcasts. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week, Yono SBI, Cash Free Payments, and HDFC Mutual Fund. Thank you for making this possible. And we're back on page 10. I'm in the studio with Meghnad and Gaurav. As in, I'm in the studio and I'm joined by Meghnad and Gaurav remotely. So we heard Meghnad's story in the last segment. Gaurav, what do you have for us this week? Please enlighten us.
Yeah. Thank you, Abbas. And so we are going to talk about IPL and Women's Premier League, the recent,
All right.
the new launch from the BCCI. And why it's important is because WPL, as they're calling it,
Mhm.
is going to transform women's cricket in India, which has been done some time back. But of course, as they say, when only when the right time comes is when things fall in place.
Mm.
So earlier, I think 13th of Feb, we saw the great auction of players where almost 59.5 crores were spent for women cricketers, right?
Mhm.
87 women players were sold, including Smriti Mandhana, which was for 3.4 crore. There were three women players, which the five franchisees bought for over 3 crore. There were two, three, four. Another four players who got more than 2 crore. And the player purse was 12 crore. So it's very big. I mean, not as comparable to IPL
Mhm.
because the
Yeah,
economics is very different,
correct.
and we'll come to that also. But
Mhm.
what is signifying is that the time for women cricket has come. And
Mhm.
I've been also talking to a lot of the franchisee owners. What has happened is, of course, all the franchisees for women cricket will make some losses for another 5, 7 years, right? Because revenues are low.
Mhm.
But it has given a new ray of hope for all the women cricketers.
Right.
The bench strength, we don't have a bench strength as male cricketer there. So that is why we have only five franchisees as of now this year.
Right.
Next year, I
Yeah.
think after 2 years, BCCI will add another
Mm.
franchisee.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
By then, they are expecting more women cricketers to be the bench strength to be ready.
Right.
Also, you know, look at it from this point of view. That there was a broadcaster who is ready to pay over 7 crore a match to
Mm.
telecast these for
Mm.
TV and digital. Viacom
Mm.
India has picked up the rights. This is very different compared to IPL.
Right.
IPL per match is over 100 crore.
Of course.
That's a
Yeah.
completely different
Yeah.
animal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but look at it. Okay, when IPL started in 2008, Everyone
Yeah.
thought, okay, will it work? Will it not work? Before that, Z started ICL also,
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
right? It didn't work. Of course,
Mm,
BCSI also didn't support, so it was
mm,
anyway not supposed to work after they said that we will ban the players. But IPL, when it started, and Sony was the first company which picked up the rights. It was around 8,800 crore for 10 years, right?
mm.
Everyone thought for the first year 8,800 crore बहुत बड़ा sum है मतलब
Huh,
880
huh.
crore per year. How they will make money?
Right.
First year they made some 400 crore in ad revenue, but by the end of seventh year they already started breaking even. They started
Mm,
making money.
mm,
By the
mm,
10th year they made big money, right?
mm.
And after that, the next the rights was sold for 5 years after that to Star India.
Right.
The amount, the amount was 16,347.5 crore, double
Mm.
Oh.
of the first
Mm.
Hmm.
term, and the time was half, 5 years.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was exactly a 4x kind of a jump.
Hmm.
Now
Correct.
everyone thought, okay, 16,000 is big money
Mm.
to recover. But if I see it over the 5 years, Star made maybe a small profit, if not big profit. But on the back of it, Disney plus Hotstar got built over it.
Correct.
A
Yeah.
lot of
Hmm.
it, right?
Mm.
So whatever the strategic value you want to put on that. Now come to the latest auctions, right? 2023 to 2027. The price again went up from 16,000 for 5 years to, guess what? TV and digital are separate
Okay.
this
Ah.
time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Ah.
Disney Star could get the TV rights, and that was for 25,575 crore.
Just the
Only
TV
TV,
rights.
just the TV rights. Okay. Viacom 18 picked up the digital rights for how much? 25,757.5
Holy
crore.
shit! So overall, like 50 crore, 50 crore से
50,000
ऊपर,
crore.
50,000 crore से
50,000 crore. Yeah. We are talking about 50,000 crore.
yeah.
So, and for the first time, digital rights are sold for more than TV rights.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Damn.
Yeah.
So this is the
Oh, this
kind
is
of growth.
fascinating. Sorry, why is that?
Because see, two things happen. One is we are seeing a small little dip in pay TV market, right? A lot of
Right.
people,
Right.
they're like you, exactly
Yeah.
like you, are cord cutters, right? We cut the cord. Same, I would say. I
Yeah.
also cut the cord 6 years back. Right? I'm
Right.
only
Right.
watching on, but that doesn't mean I'm not watching content. But
Correct.
everything is different pipe. So now I'm
Mm,
watching TV
mm,
via OTT
mm,
services.
Hmm.
Right?
mm.
Hmm.
So a lot of this digital. So say for example, at that time there were 190 million TV home, pay TV home.
Hmm.
It got
Hmm.
down. It came down to 160. Today, as per estimates, about 108 million pay TV homes.
Mm, mm.
Hmm.
Okay, and digital, of course, which was before 2016, there was nothing, right? Very small, minuscule number. Today, there are about 500 million smartphone users or
Mm,
internet-enabled devices.
mm,
Right?
mm, mm.
So, and that number is going to grow with
Hmm.
more and 5G coming in, more and more number shifting from 3G to 4G. Of course, there are still some 3G connections. People moving, data costs getting cheaper and cheaper. So, a lot of consumption has started happening on YouTube and
Yeah.
other free OTT services.
Hmm.
So, of course, Viacom 18 thought that, okay, digital is more lucrative. So, but they had
Also,
to bid
sorry,
for.
one anecdotal evidence I would give of this. I think I have seen this happening particularly in the last
Mm.
5 years only, where earlier there would be like shopkeepers sitting there with like a TV in front of them with a news
Yeah.
channel or whatever match
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah.
Now the same shopkeepers have their phones just kept samne, and
Exactly.
there are
Yeah.
way more people doing that than like a
Yeah.
TV screen now.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. That happens because
Even taxi walas
Mm.
सामने
yes,
मैच देख
You
रहे हैं
just
और
put
गाड़ी
it on
चला
there.
रहे हैं. Yeah.
Ha.
yeah. Because see, mobility gives you that, but
Hmm.
also we have to understand here that content everyone wants on demand. It's not
Hmm.
Mm.
appointment viewing anymore. Of course, when it comes
Correct.
to sports, live sports is different. But
Yeah.
apart from that, it's now we all want it when we want it, where we want it, how we want it.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
रात को 9 बजे ये शो देखना है तो मैं टीवी पे देखने जाऊंगा. That is over, right?
Almost going
Yes.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. So movie also now. either you go to the hall, cinema hall, or you will like अभी एक महीने बाद आ जाएगा on
आ
OTT, so you
Exactly.
जाएगा.
can watch it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But the only difference is when it comes to live sports, because live sports is appointment
Hmm.
viewing.
Hmm.
वो तो अगर
Hmm.
8 बजे शुरू हो रहा है तो you want to watch if you are a sports
Correct.
fan,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So they thought that digital is the way forward, so they
Hmm.
bid heavily for that. Also, BCCI did one thing very smartly. They had one digital package, and they had one smaller package of 18 non-exclusive games per this thing. For that, you have to bid separately. So what BCCI's theory was, okay, बड़े player आएंगे to for the entire IPL, but there are
Right.
many smaller players who may want, who don't have that much money, but they will want, अच्छा ठीक है, let me take those 18 matches out of 74 matches to show to sampling. Idea was whoever goes for digital rights will have to go for those rights also to make them exclusive.
Hmm.
Pay extra, subsume that into your rights, and extinguish those non-exclusive rights.
Right.
That is what Viacom 18 had to do. But see, for Viacom 18 also, why it makes sense is Jio, the parent company, Reliance,
Correct.
also
Yeah.
has Jio, right? And
Yeah.
Jio has whatever million subscribers. Now they are likely to announce an IPL plan,
Right.
data plan. So if your data increases, so that's a other strategic value they can get.
Hmm.
Right? So, but what happened because of that? Now, BCCI puts 50% of the media rights and other ground sponsorship rights it get in the central revenue pool. And that money is divided. 50% BCCI keeps, 50% is in the central revenue. 45 to be precise. Remaining
Hmm.
5% is for the winners and all. So a 45% of that also becomes a very big amount. Right? So now every team starting this year will get almost 500 crore from the central revenue pool alone.
Mm.
Right?
This is in the main IPL, the men's
Yes, yes.
IPL.
The men's
All right.
IPL. I will come
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
women's IPL
Right.
economics
Sure.
also. So that is a very big amount.
Hmm.
Even after
Okay.
and all the teams have now started generating sponsorships of themselves, which is in the range of 70 to 100, 120 crore also.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Right.
Mumbai Indian
Hmm.
and so Bangalore. Yesterday, Bangalore signed a deal with Qatar Airways as the chest main sponsor. So
Okay.
they are paying 75 crore for 3 years.
Hmm.
Overall, 100, crore is an easy amount. Then there are
Hmm.
another 20, 25 crore they earn from gate revenues, ticket sales. So it's a good economics now for them.
Hmm.
Also players. Now player cap has been increasing year on year, right? It started as I think 50, went up to 55, 60, 65, 70, 80. It will soon go to 100 crore per year per team. That means every team, so now IPL say 10 teams, if it's 100, 1,000 crore they will spend on buying players per year.
Hmm.
Imagine that kind of money which is going.
Yeah.
Here also,
Wow.
in women's IPL, 12 crore was per team player. So 12, 5, yeah, 60 crore. And they spent 59.5. So
Hmm.
60
Oh.
crore for women player right now who are not getting anything is a very big
Yeah.
amount.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
Hmm.
So, and it becomes automatically a viable career option.
Yeah.
Right? So अभी तक if the parents are like खेलो मत पढ़ाई पे ध्यान दो, now they will go say खेलो, you can play
Hello.
cricket
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think I think that's a great move. Of course, for BCCI it makes sense because BCCI auctioned the 5 teams. They got about 4,900 crore if I'm remembering correctly.
Hmm.
uh, Big amount. This is what they keep.
Hmm.
Of course, they use it for other development of cricket or whatever they want
Right.
to call it.
Right.
They
Right.
want
Right.
to some new grounds and all, and others they distribute among the states,
Yes. Yes. Correct.
right? So uh, that is there, and also the teams. So the teams for the first 7 8 years they will not make any money. It will be
Right.
loss making.
Gaurav, if
But
I may ask, these five teams are these extensions of the like the main IPL teams, like a Mumbai
not
Indians or
all
Royal
five,
Challenge?
not all five.
Okay.
So Reliance has bought. So Mumbai Indians is the same
Okay.
owner.
Okay. Got it.
Diageo has bought. So Bangalore is the same owner.
Hmm.
Then the uh, Delhi Capitals is the same. Your
Okay.
yeah. So the two new owners which are not there is Capri Global which
Okay.
wanted to buy a team but couldn't, and Adani
Mhm,
Sports Line, which again
mhm.
wanted IPL but they couldn't. So
Wait,
these two are
Adani.
new.
Did
Yes.
you
Yes.
say Adani?
Which couldn't buy Meghnad. So,
Which
so
could,
they're
no,
out
no,
of the
which
picture.
couldn't buy in IPL. Which couldn't buy in
Correct.
IPL.
Yeah.
So they went
So,
for
so
WPL.
women's IPL.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
So,
So
but
which
all
are the
these
two newer
teams,
teams?
two new are Capri Global and Adani Sports.
The
Okay, but they
owners are
haven't.
new,
They
Owners,
haven't.
but
two new owners.
Okay, got it. Got it. Got it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
they have
UP and
bought
Gujarat.
what? Kolkata.
UP and Gujarat. No, no, no. UP and Gujarat.
Oh,
Okay.
UP and
All right.
Gujarat. Okay.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
yeah, yeah. Mumbai Royal Challengers and Delhi Capitals are the same owners.
Got it.
Right, right. Mm.
Yeah, right. So all of these teams have already signed sponsors worth 10 to 15 crore,
Hmm.
Hmm.
which is again, and what has also happened is a new set of advertisers which would not have money enough to put on men's IPL have
Yeah.
come
Hmm.
on board. Right?
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
FMCGs couldn't come this time, of course, because the time was not there. I mean, 13th was the player auction. Just a week before was when the team auctions happened,
Hmm.
and it's starting today. Sorry, starting
Hmm.
on 3rd of March, right? So they
Yeah.
didn't have
Yeah.
much time to sell, and also last month of the quarter of the financial year, so all the FMCG companies have their budgets locked. But
Hmm.
everyone is hoping that next year onwards they also will start coming in.
Hmm.
So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that's the whole IPL
What
ecosystem for me.
fun! What fun!
Gaurav,
Yeah.
I
Well,
have a light-hearted question. Okay, go ahead, Meghnad. Then I'll ask
no,
you.
no. I was just thinking of these ridiculous amounts which you were mentioning. Like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
But okay, yeah,
yeah.
go on, Abbas. Sorry.
Gaurav, for the WPL, will we see male cheerleaders in the stands dancing for
We
the
should, na.
WPL?
That's what.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
very good
yeah, yeah,
idea.
yeah.
That's a very good idea.
Sorry, when
I
is
mean,
this happening? When is the match happening? First match?
from today, third,
Oh, from
third
today
March is
only.
starting.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So
Got
this
it.
will end, and then the IPL will start on 31st of
Right. All
Aha,
right. So,
interesting.
so I'm
Nice.
assuming since it is 5 teams, this will be a much shorter and
much
concise
shorter. Yeah,
tournament.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Uh, yeah, that's really good to know. I think finally, female cricketers will get the due that they deserve,
And
and
there are international players also in this pool.
Yes. So unlike
International women
IPL,
players.
yes.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
unlike IPL, where only four international cricketers are allowed in the playing 11, in this five are allowed
Okay. Because,
Ah,
like you said,
because
the
are
we
pool
don't
there
is
have that bench
smaller.
strength. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
are
Yeah.
there
Correct.
any women from Pakistan?
No, same like IPL.
Oof.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I asked this because I was reading this very good book called Unveiling Jazba about the women cricket team. It was done by like a sports journalist in India, Ayush
Oh,
Putran. He basically did this book about how their lives essentially intersected with the politics of Pakistan and how they changed cricket completely in Pakistan. Women playing cricket
yeah,
and how people
yeah.
looked at women playing cricket and sports in general with
Right.
like Benazir Bhutto to now. It was
Yeah.
like it's a
Wow.
fascinating read. So I was
Right.
wondering if I can see some of those people who is mentioned, like
That,
Sana Mir and people playing here as like फिर मैं देखूंगा.
yeah,
Like,
that would have been lovely. That's what. That's what.
Yeah.
And in fact, I read some of the interviews some of the Pakistani women cricketer gave after during the World Cup. That it's a bit disheartening to see
Hmm.
that
yeah, it's sad.
uh,
Hmm.
yeah, because of the
Yeah.
whatever political and situation that we have.
No, and
Uh,
all said and done, BCCI is bigger than the ICC now. It has like a ton of money.
Of
So
course.
any
Yeah.
cricketer worth their salt around the world would want to play in an Indian league.
in fact, WPL, Women's Premier League, is the biggest women's sporting league now.
Hmm.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Right? With the very first match, it has become the biggest league,
Yeah,
women's
of
league.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Thanks, Gaurav, for that. I hope maybe I can. I mean, we can dream that one day the WPL will be as big as the main IPL, and that they'll
Amen to that.
probably yeah
Hmm.
give them a run for their money. All right, cool. So the last topic we have for this week is my topic, which is or rather, I thought it's something that we can talk about because it has to do with woke culture and cancel culture, whatever you want to call it. So, the headline reads, this is from The Guardian: Roald Dahl books rewritten to remove language deemed offensive. Essentially, the Puffin, which is the publication company that publishes Roald Dahl books, are doing a newer versions of his classics, wherein they are modifying the language used from the originals because they think that the language used is too offensive and crass, and they are replacing them, and in some cases downright adding new stuff. So Roald Dahl, of course, beloved children's author, known for writing he's known for writing these very memorable villains, and many a times he has made fun of fat people in his books, made called people ugly, called people with very distinct physical appearances with sharp nose and etc etc. So in a lot of these books, wherever the word ugly has been used or wherever the word fat has been used, they have been replaced with other words which are less quote unquote offensive. For
Hmm.
example, in one instance in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the word fat has been replaced with enormous to describe a character. Another
Oh.
place, the word ugly and beastly was used to describe a villain, and the word ugly has been removed, and just beastly has been kept. And there is this one very beloved book of his called The Witches, where there's a paragraph describing the witches where Roald Dahl basically says that they are wearing wigs because they are bald underneath, and then goes on to sort of describe their appearance. There is an additional line added after that saying there are plenty of other reasons why women might wear wigs, and there is certainly nothing wrong with that. This has been added
Oh God.
in, in the
Oh God.
text.
Yeah.
So if this wasn't enough, I also came across another article which I read it which was from the Telegraph, which said after Roald Dahl, James Bond books edited to remove offensive references. So this is primarily to do with the first James Bond book that was written by Ian Fleming called Casino Royale. So
Yes,
in this case, wherever the N word was used to describe black people, of course the book was written in the 60s. It's been replaced with either black or black people. And there are some expressions like quote unquote sweet tang of rape, blithering women, failing to do a man's work, which have been replaced and or deleted altogether. Surprisingly, though, they have replaced the N word wherever it has been used to refer to black people, but there are also slightly more insulting expressions that were used for Asian people in the book, which have been retained. So
Oh.
there, yeah, there is this whole very weird choice that they have made to sort of replace one words for one group of people, but not the other. So, in the Roald Dahl case, there was an uproar by a lot of people saying that they are actually erasing classic literature. So, Puffin has said that along with these newer versions, they will still go on and publish the original text as it stands. But the Ian Fleming thing, I think they have not responded yet. So, I just wanted to know from you guys, what do you think about this? Another thing, one more thing, which I think makes sense more in this case is in the James Bond books, they will actually have a disclaimer at the beginning that this book was written at a time when these expressions were used more casually than they are now, and they represent the thought process of that time. A disclaimer like this has recently also gone up before films like Gone with the Wind when they come up
Hmm.
on streaming.
yeah.
Also, Enid Blyton's books were under criticism a couple of months ago for something similar like this. So guys, do you think we are being too protective of our children?
Yes.
Are we not
Yes.
exposing them to what the world used to be like?
That's so
I mean,
fucked up. I
yeah.
mean, come on. Yeah, go
You
on.
know,
Sorry, Gaurav.
first of
Yeah,
all, I think if we put out our real emotions out, I think we will also fall for that cancel culture.
we'll also
But
cancel. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, we'll
yeah.
got cancelled. No, but on a serious note, we have to see everything in the context of time and place, right?
Right. Mm,
So a disclaimer is fine,
mm,
but just because something now, this first is we are taking this woke culture to
yeah,
a
yeah.
different level.
Hmm.
We should not.
Mm,
I mean, we
mm,
have to be sensible enough to understand that just because something is said in a way, it's not
mm,
necessarily degrading or condescending or uh, you know uh, it's. it's not meant the way uh, a lot of people, have problem with Friends today,
Hmm.
Right.
the
Correct.
series. Of course,
Yes.
because there is no black character for up to 7 seasons.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
essentially whites. The
Mm,
kind of jokes, homophobic jokes, and other
mm,
jokes they
mm,
make,
mm.
and they make fun of Monica when she was fat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, give it a break. It was a different time and era.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Watch it,
Yeah.
enjoy it. Don't enjoy it, don't watch it.
Right.
Right? And that's why I love this comedian, what's his name? No, not Harvey. The British comedian. He has a couple of
Ricky
shows
Gervais.
on Netflix. Ricky Gervais, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do not give a fuck. Just
Yeah.
go about it. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's my view. I mean, this is. I mean, how
Mm,
can you rewrite or change words of Roald Dahl? It's,
mm.
it's,
That
it's,
doesn't make sense to me either. I mean, I agree with you when you say that, ठीक है, disclaimer डालो, like
Correct.
in the
Yeah.
beginning, saying
Mm,
that, listen,
mm.
this was written in a very, like, prologue लिख दो
Different.
पूरा,
Yeah.
like,
Exactly.
genuinely, write a giant prologue of 5 pages explaining
Mm,
why that
mm,
word was used, why this word was used,
mm,
and how it's
mm,
wrong in the current context. This is a reprint that we are
mm,
doing
mm,
50 years
mm.
later, whatever. But for the sake of authenticity, we are actually keeping those words, but do not, yeah, consider them in current standards.
Right. Yeah.
That's basically what you need to do with every sort of work that you think is not appropriate for the current time but was made in
Mm,
the past, right?
mm,
Now,
mm.
it's so bizarre because the same thing, people are trying to cancel George Washington and people for owning slaves now.
Right.
I'm like, तुम कैसे करोगे boss? Like, I mean, how does that make sense? Like, it's like how we are trying to cancel Mughals right now for
Right.
being whatever they were in like 14th 15th century. Like, why? Like, so there's of course the woke culture, you can say, but I would just largely say that this is the outrage industry going overboard
Mm.
and
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
far, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like Puffin, I think it's a Penguin ka
Yes.
subsidiary. I'm
Yes.
not so sure,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Now they have a lot of titles. Like,
Mm,
I think Agatha Christie is also one of them, right?
mm,
Agatha
mm,
Christie was also a bunch of authors which have come out of copyright now after that 70-year rule, etc. Right?
mm, mm.
I remember Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, all the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe if I read them now, I'll be like, "Arey, ye kya likha tha isme?
Mm, mm,
Why
mm.
is this woman being objectified by like
Yeah.
someone, or like why is Nancy Drew's like bodily, like ye whatever, so like described in every third page or whatever is
Correct.
happening,
Yeah.
right?"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was a kid, I didn't realize that, but now when I read it, of course I'll think कि क्या लिखा है इसमें,
Mm,
but I
mm.
won't be like, "Yo, किताब ही change कर दो पूरा." It's
Right.
like, I'll be like, no, that was a different time. This is a different time.
Exactly. I
I read
think
it.
if anything, it helps us understand that time better. Okay, this was the gaze of, and
Absolutely.
this was the thoughts of people who used to write back then. But yeah,
There is this subreddit called Men Writing Women. Have you seen that?
no, I haven't.
It's very funny. So like it's about how men write women characters and how they like use like very weird
I think I've seen some
objectifying
screenshots.
yeah,
Yeah.
objectifying adjectives to sort of define women, etc.
Yeah.
uh
Yeah. Yeah.
Freakishly hilarious,
Yeah.
the thing is, but the fact is that now people have started to notice these things.
Mm, mm.
Like earlier we didn't
Correct.
have that vocabulary, we didn't have
Mm,
that understanding, and therefore the authors which wrote even before that
mm,
obviously didn't have that
mm.
vocabulary.
Yeah, and the weird thing here is in the Roald Dahl books. I mean, those expressions, if it's ugly or whatever it is, it's used to describe the villains. So now we don't
Yes,
even want our villains to be coming across as
offended,
evil. We
like
want to be
वो
like
villain offend हो
completely
जाएगा.
sad. Exactly.
Or
Uh,
like the thing is, if you are like calling a villain ugly, let's say
hmm,
the big bad wolf,
hmm,
right, the big bad wolf who goes and like eats grandmother or whatever it is.
hmm, hmm, hmm,
Now the big bad wolf, maybe 10
hmm,
years from now, calling
hmm,
someone bad might be offensive.
hmm.
Then what do you
Yeah,
call this big bad wolf then?
yeah.
Like big whatever wolf, big,
Big
not
is
so
also
nice wolf.
offensive. Big is also offensive. Just wolf.
Big, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, अब फिर wolf भी मत बुलाओ. How are you calling someone a wolf? How can this wolf talk? So clearly he's a human being, but you are making him a wolf. How dare you? Like, so,
Yeah.
But I have a question then, Abbas. Uh,
Yeah.
so, as we are not supposed to call fat, right?
Hmm.
So, is going to call them enormous going to help in any way?
Uh,
That's
if
true
anything, that
actually.
sounds a little more offensive to me.
It does, right? It's
Yeah,
like
if someone comes to me, Gaurav, you have become enormous. I'm like, okay, I will want to
that does
punch you
sound more
now.
insulting, to be honest. That does
Exactly,
sound
right?
more insulting. It does. And what is that line that they added? You were saying, Abbas?
Uh, so the witches are
There,
described as bald, and the added part was women may be bald for whatever reason. There's nothing wrong with that. Was was the added part. So yeah, that's a
Ruined.
very that's a very, oh, by the way, not, I don't want
Yeah.
to get into trouble, so yeah,
Wow.
uh,
just let the
But
classics be. I
but
was
uh,
think,
do you
yeah.
do you like this question that is often asked? No, ki, has woke culture gone too far? Like, what would you say to that?
Gaurav, you want to take that?
I already told you I will get cancelled if I start telling what
Yeah.
I feel.
But why are we so scared of this also is the question, right? Like for example, what I said just now, like the
Hmm,
entire
hmm,
rant that I had, or
hmm,
what Gaurav
hmm,
said right now, or what even Abbas said right now, or we're
hmm.
laughing at these things, ki how ridiculous these things are.
Yeah,
Some people might find it offending that, oh, I
sure.
also thought that what happened with this book is good, like it should happen, like fat people should now be called enormous in my
Yeah.
book. There will be people like that. I'm not discounting that, right?
Huh. I
But
think it's the
mhm,
immediacy of online, for lack of a better word, let's call it cancellation. That today, Meghnad, you have a sufficient following. Now, someone might clip something from this and put it out, and they'll have 50 other people to support them on Twitter.
yeah,
Like, I,
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this, but Daniel Fernandez, the comedian, released a clip from his stand up special yesterday
Hmm, hmm,
where he's
hmm.
talking about how Christians have this insult thrown at them called rice bag, right? And he gives a
Yes.
context to it, and he
Hmm.
actually dispels it. And if you go into the comments, people are calling him rice bag again. I'm like, you're just proving his point. What
Yeah,
what
yeah,
he's saying about it.
yeah.
But yeah, I think the idea there is we are all very careful about what we say now, because we know it will only take minutes for that
Yeah.
online mob to come after us, not
Hmm.
even a day. So
No, but that's
uh,
my thing, right? So, Abba, so
mm,
what has happened with me, for example, right? So, I've
mm.
been cancelled a bunch of times now. Like, I
Right,
mean, like,
right.
both, but, uh, and that's the thing. So, like, I get cancelled for things I said in 2012. I get cancelled
Mm,
for things that I said in 2017. I get
mm,
cancelled for things that I said in 2019, and I
mm.
recently got cancelled for something that I said in 2021. Right,
Okay.
so I have many periods where I get cancelled, right? But the
Right.
worst cancellation that happened is always for the 2012 one, right? Where
Mm,
मैंने गंदी
mm,
गंदी गालियां मारी थी ट्विटर पे किसी को,
mm, mm,
political figures को especially, right?
mm.
And I was casteist, sexist, whatever it was. Now again, same thing. Like I did not have the vocabulary or the understanding back then to
Correct.
even understand what I was saying,
Right.
or I was like being frustrating, and मेरे
Mm, mm,
30 फॉलोअर्स को मैं बोल रहा था जो भी था.
mm,
I didn't
mm,
even use my real name, right?
mm.
So the thing is, now that I have a following, right, it can be used as a stick to sort of beat me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But that is what happens. And I think okay, Twitter behavior is Twitter behavior,
Mm.
but you're doing it with books now. The
I
same
think that's the
Twitter
thing. The
behavior is with
the Twitter
books.
behavior is now expanding on into real life,
That's
and
so
it's very
weird.
bizarre. I genuinely believe that online behavior is affecting our real world behavior also, because we are so stuck to our devices. Also, I think, Meghnad, the example that you gave, the difference there is you now realize what your error was in 2012, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the whole thing with people like Thomas Jefferson getting cancelled, that they are not alive today to really
Precisely,
tell you कि
precisely.
हाँ बाबा मैंने 400 साल पहले जो किया था उसका मुझे regret है, because well, lifespan is
Yeah.
just not that big enough.
So
So
the
yeah.
reason is, so the reason why I pointed out is because I got cancelled, because people
Hmm.
called me out for things that I said back then. I
Hmm.
am now more careful about not saying those things,
Of
right?
course, yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not censoring myself about things that I passionately believe about, right? But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
also understand that 5 years from now,
yeah.
maybe I have said something today which I will get cancelled for again. because
Correct. Yeah.
sensibilities will evolve. But
Hmm.
then I should have the sort of the understanding that okay, for this time what I said back then was wrong, so I should admit it and I should say that I am retrospectively sorry, I guess, about what the things I have been saying. And it's a constant thing now, basically.
It is, yeah, and I think that's the issue here, that Puffin is deciding for Roald Dahl, saying that,
Yes.
oh, you know, and that's where I think the issue lies. All right, I think we've crossed the 1 hour mark, so this is
Yes.
a good time for us to wrap up. Once again, one last time, if you're watching us on YouTube and if you like this, please press the like button. Please subscribe to the channel so that you can watch Page 10 as well as ELI 10 and How to Citizen on the All About Now feed. Gaurav, before we wrap up, would you like to give out your social media handles or anywhere people can reach you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm available on Twitter. It's Gaurav underscore Laghate,
All right.
Gaurav underscore Laghate. That's the way
All
to
right.
reach me. It's open.
ये इधर फ्लैश हो रहा होगा अभी, इसको जाके कैंसिल करो for something that he said. Please give him that experience. Gaurav, have you been cancelled till now?
Not cancelled, but was trolled a couple of times.
Oh,
That's
Putting
mild
some
trolling,
stories,
extreme trolling. Where do you
mid
rate
level.
it?
Level.
Mid level trolling. तो ये handle दिख रहा है ऊपर, please cancel करो इसको. Let him experience cancellation sometimes.
Gaurav, was it because of something you said about a player and their fans came after you?
No, 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 no. It was
Okay.
because of the. It was just after, I guess, GST was
Oh,
implemented.
okay. That kind of trolling. वो तो ठीक है.
नोल्डी
That,
ट्रोलिंग हुआ है. नोल्ड
yeah,
वो तो ट्रोलिंग भी नहीं है.
Uh, Meghnad, where can one find you on social media and anything else
You
you want to
can
plug?
you can find me on me Meghnad on Twitter. You can find me on Meghnad S on Instagram, and you can find me on Meghnerd Meghnerd on YouTube. We are launching the second episode of How to Citizen, which is with Anup Soni. Please go watch that. Follow all the shows, and also the recommendation. Please watch Khoon Bhari Mang episode of Has It Aged Well, which is Abbas ka freakishly hilarious episode. I was like, oh my god. So
Thank
Abbas
you.
does this podcast, Gaurav, called Has It Aged Well, where he takes
is
random old movies and then they basically figure out Has It Aged Well. Khun Bhari Mang he did. I was blown
wow.
away. I suddenly remembered so many scenes. I was like, shit, ये भी हुआ था वो movie में.
Yes.
I will check it out
Yes.
definitely.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the shout out, Meghnad. And you can follow me on Instagram at AbbasMomin88 and on Twitter at AbbasMomin. In case you're old school and want to write us an email, you can. The email ID is allaboutnow@pratilipi.com. Yes, I think we have plugged everything sufficiently. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back next week with a new
यहाँ पे
panel and
यहाँ पे अब्बास का हैंडल आया होगा, उसको भी थोड़ा कैंसिल कर देना यहाँ पे. सबको कैंसिल करो आज.
सबको cancel करो. We'll be back next week with a new panel and new topics. Till then, bye bye.